Up next, we had our first Beat the Clock Challenge match of the night. Dean Ambrose versus Alberto Del Rio. And this was hands down match of the night. Really, really great match. These guys put on an absolute clinic together, and Ambrose ended up winning in 15 minutes and 42 seconds.
Yes, that's right. You know what? I really got to give credit to this match. It seemed a little slow at first for me, but that was mostly on Alberto Del Rio, because again, you see most Alberto Del Rio matches, they have this flow, this structure to them. But it really picked up, and I really have to give the credit to Dean Ambrose for that, because first of all, commentary was on point. I have to give them credit too, because they mentioned, well, how smart of it was the Authority to pick somebody who has an arm submission, who is that kind of specialist, knowing that Dean Ambrose has the injured shoulder.
Right.
And Dean Ambrose is so committed to the selling and the psychology of being a hampered babyface, an injured babyface, that it really created this wonderful story. When you have the clock in the background ticking away, it created this wonderful environment that really made the people, I think, rally behind Ambrose, because we want to see him, get his hands on Rollins, but we want to see him get his hands on Rollins in his playground, in a matchup that he chooses. I mean, those are huge implications. So I think that really worked to this match's benefit, because every maneuver, I think, had a little bit of extra oomph to it because of the atmosphere they created.
Yeah. The match itself was great. It's interesting to me that they would pick Del Rio. I mean, it does make perfect psychological sense that they would pick him because of the arm submission, like you said. But I don't know. Like, I feel like they could have gone with like a giant type. Like, I don't know. Kali isn't really a heel, but I mean, if you're going to use Kane tonight, why would you use him against Roman Reigns in a last man standing match when you could use him against Dean Ambrose in a freaking Beat the Clock challenge? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Del Rio is all of a sudden like the Authority's go-to guy to prevent Dean Ambrose from winning quickly. It just doesn't make sense.
I think for the Authority, one, again, it is that
Because of the
injured
arm
shoulder.
submission, right?
Right, the arm submission, and two, I think it's just because he's injured. Period. Like, Roman Reigns' stock is rising insanely high right now in terms of the kayfabe context of him winning, him dominating everything, and I think they really want to capitalize on Reigns.
See, now this would have been a great opportunity for Mark Henry to return.
I agree.
You didn't even need to give the opponents away. You could just say Ambrose and Rollins are going to be in Beat the Clock challenges tonight to go against opponents that we have yet to determine. So then Sandow gets, I don't even care who, maybe, you know what, I'm not even going to say someone's name because it doesn't matter, because whoever it is just going to beat Sandow anyway. Then Mark Henry's music hits for Dean Ambrose, and the way that they could sell that would be so good with the commentary, with Dean Ambrose's facial expressions, which are legend status. I feel like that would have been, and then Mark Henry would have been a heel, which would have been even better because we've always loved Mark Henry as an angry heel. So yeah, I just think that would have worked better.
And what I like about your option is that Mark Henry, I mean, look at the man. It wouldn't even matter that Dean Ambrose had one injured bypass, because Mark Henry wouldn't even care to zone in on that. Like, he's a human weapon, so he could just really tear Ambrose apart, all the healthy and unhealthy parts combined. So I do like your thinking there. However, it did make for, as you said, a really wonderful match. And I have to give credit for JBL here, which is ironic, because on the last Twit Wow, our hit of the night again was just bashing JBL's heel commentary. But he noted how, and this is kind of a story in itself, Dean Ambrose failed to get dirty deeds twice with the bad arm, so to really put this match away and punch the clock, he uses the right arm, and JBL pointed that out. So I think Ambrose is starting to learn, not to steal an Evolution line here, which is just rich in irony, but he's learning how to adapt so that he doesn't perish at the Authority's hands. So good stuff by Ambrose.
Are we still using Evolution lines?
I know. I'm ashamed of myself.
All right, so up next we got the entrance of Lana and Rusev, but then we went to commercial. And during the commercial on the app, we got a match.
Yeah, you know what, Ashton? This was dangerously close to being a heat of the night for me. I think the only reason I didn't pull that trigger was, let's be honest, it was a Rusev Sin Cara match. You knew how it was going to end, so I really think it was inconsequential whether it ended on TV or the app. I think it was a bigger deal, honestly, when the Kofi Kingston-Cesaro matchup ended on the app. That I really didn't like. This I could let pass given who was involved, but still, as a matter of principle, I don't know if I like
It sets a precedence that we can't possibly enjoy.
exactly. Thank you, because I think you phrased that perfectly. I think it sets a standard that, hey, any matchup we want, as long as it entices people to download the app, we can finish. I mean, it actually scares me. What if an Intercontinental Championship match or a U.S. Championship match would end on the app or something like that? Nothing could stop them from doing that. If they do it here, they can do it virtually anywhere. So, it bothers me. It's a stick in my craw, I guess, but I'll get over it. Rusev does win, again, dominating fashion. Then Lana cuts a post-match promo, has a side-by-side of the two leaders, the leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and the president of the United States, Barack Obama. And she says, it's Obama's...
And let's just specify, Obama had a cute little puppy, and Putin was petting a young tiger.
Yeah, again, I guess showing that that image that Lana likes to build on of Vladimir Putin being a symbol of masculinity, I guess, because, he's mingling with leopards. So, and then, of course, a few weeks back when she had Obama's training regimen lifting those weights. So, good stuff. Start singing to Obama in Russian, happy birthday in Russian. Colter comes out, pretty much tells Lana to shut up. Then he says who Swagger is representing.
He told her to shut up, Moggle!
I know, Moggle. It's ridiculous.
He's the best hero of all the time in America, Moggle.
Wave that flag with pride, Moggle. But anyway, before we get into a JBL off, which would be hilarious, tells everybody who Jack Swagger is representing. The woman who works 60 hours a week to bring dinner home to her two children.
I wanted to puke when he was going through these. The frickin' Jack Swagger works to represent Nick, the father of two children who has to work to support his family. And then the worst part to me was when they went to the frickin' army. Like, I understand that the WWE does tribute to the troops, but if this wasn't just deplorable levels of exploitation, I don't know what is.
I was seriously waiting, because the way he was, narrating it, I was seriously waiting for the graphic. This ad has been sponsored by the We the People Foundation. Jack Swagger for president. It was hokey. It was hammy. It's whatever. It
was exploitative.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's such a shame about it is, again, you and I have said this repeatedly, and I'm sorry, I just think it bears repeating, that this is getting over in 2014. When I thought the metaphorical palettes would have been more refined beyond this point where this would still work. Why can't it just be? I hate that it's a flag match. You know that. I hate that this is a flag match. I felt like what they started at the last pay-per-view, I wanted to see that carried over in SummerSlam in another contest. But we're going to get a flag match, and I think, again, my theory was that's to protect Swagger. Rusev does get the upper hand, though, because they do go at it. He uses his flag as a weapon, and then they corner Colter, who's not backing down, of course, because he's a babyface. But, if he was still a heel, some comical hijinks probably would have ensued. Lana does stop Rusev, and then she mocks him. She puts her hand over her heart, and she says, "We, the people," and, they walk out. You know what I want, Ashton. You know what I want come September Night of Champions. I want a program between Rusev and Sheamus. Honestly, my sights aren't even on this program anymore. I want to see what both guys are going to do after this. Maybe even a little bit more Swagger because he is a babyface now.
Or if he even stays babyface.
Or if he even stays babyface. You're absolutely right about that. That's another important question to ask. I think this flag match, for me, I just have no investment in it. But it's still getting over with the crowd, I guess.
And if you do have investment in this match, you are the problem.
I hate to say it like that because people will like what they like, and everybody is entitled to their own taste. But
I don't necessarily mean you are the problem with wrestling fans. I mean you are the problem with America today.
and there you go, because that is the thing. He says that Swagger is fighting for all these people. So, the challenges they face, they're not caused by Russians or really mainly any outside forces for that problem.
Yeah, exactly. They're not even self-inflicted. They're They are self-inflicted, but only because it's the self's country, not the self's.
Exactly. It's not the self's choice. Because look, if anybody really had true autonomy and choices in this and that, believe me, I think they'd be doing a lot more than what Colter was, espousing that they do just to get by.
Yeah, when's Zeb Colter going to start talking about the income discrepancy in this country?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? This could have been such a, and I'm serious. If this was, but then again, this is me, and this is why we have fantasy booking, right? For crazy people like me. I felt like this could have been the potential for such great political and social commentary, but it's just been another run-of-the-mill America. Yeah! Everybody who has a differing view or points out legitimate problems, well, your face is the problem. Yeah! I don't know, man. It's sad. Got anything else you want to say about this, man?
No, I don't.
All right, let's move on.